Well, firstly, it's very good to join you this morning. With regard to low traffic neighbourhoods, I think that they should be a decision for local communities. I'm a strong believer in devolution, and that is entirely the way to proceed. But I have to say, I mean, I've seen some coverage this morning that the Prime Minister is posing as the friend of motorists, which I just find staggering. This is the Prime Minister who personally cut the potholes budget to such an extent that money could have filled 8 million potholes from Land's End to John O'Groats and back again. This is the Prime Minister when there were petrol retailers not passing on falls in prices to consumers, refused to put anything mandatory in place, and the best he could do was some sort of voluntary scheme. We're seeing car insurance premiums rise due to inflation. As ever, I think, with this government, you have to judge them by their actions and not by yet more empty words.
Well, it will be the voters that do the judging at the ballot box, Mr. Symonds, but the important thing here is that you're saying, and I just want to get this clear for our viewers, is that you're saying that for low-traffic neighbourhoods, you want local authorities to make that decision. But here we have the Prime Minister making a really clear stance here that he isn't going to be anti-car. He's ordering this review, and his line is quite strong. It doesn't feel like Labour have a position here, as opposed to saying, well, we'll let the local authorities sort this one out.
Sorry, but we're 13 years into a Conservative government. The Conservative government has accelerated the use of low-traffic neighbourhoods. The Prime Minister has then put something out in contradiction to it, just yet another press release from the Prime Minister. I'm a big believer in devolution, very passionate about devolution, and that's why I say...
What's your position, Mr Symonds? What is your position? Because I can see what Rishi Sunak is saying here, that he wants to order a review, he wants people to get on with their daily business, but what about Labour?
We are in favour of well-planned, low-traffic neighbourhoods, but as I say, they have to be decisions that are made by local communities. There are local communities around the country that actually want to reduce traffic in their neighbourhoods, want to push to have a low-traffic neighbourhood. There are other areas where local concerns would need to be taken into account. That's a very straightforward position. I mean, the government's so-called review that they've announced in contradiction of their previous policy, as I say, that's just yet more words from the Prime Minister. When it's come to actions, the Prime Minister certainly has been on the side of motorists.
OK, shall we talk about the London Mayor, Sadiq Khan, that ULEZ expansion? Do you think the Mayor is causing trouble for Labour?
Well, I think what the Mayor of London is doing is trying to fulfil that legal duty that he has to provide clean air, which is really, really important. In relation to the specific scheme, there are discussions that are ongoing at the moment between Keir Starmer and Sadiq Khan. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to cut across those discussions. They will be ongoing. But there is a wider issue here in terms of listening to people, trying to make sure that this is implemented in a fair way. There have already been changes made by the Mayor in terms of extending the scrappage scheme. But the government here is trying to pretend that it's nothing to do with them. They should be stepping up to the plate and assisting with funding around that scrappage scheme as well, frankly.
But is Sir Keir Starmer, Mr Symonds, sitting on the fence when it comes to ULEZ? He says he's against its expansion, it's been expanded, but he isn't really planning to intervene. Voters want that clear voice of what the priorities are from Labour. And it doesn't feel like on these green issues, that Labour are really stepping up to the table here.
Well, I fundamentally disagree with that. Firstly, there are those discussions that are ongoing between Keir Starmer and Sadiq Khan. I'm not going to cut across them. But secondly, we are putting forward, we are the party that has the Green Prosperity Plan for the future to drive forward, have clean energy by 2010 with GB Energy, a publicly owned company, obviously directing that, but bringing in that private investment that we need. bringing down bills, insulating 19 million homes around the country to make them more energy efficient. These are things the government should already have been doing. I was in the United States only a couple of weeks ago, looking at this green transition there, looking at the repurposing of what was once the world's largest steelworks, now to a distribution centre and renewable energy hub. The truth is, the race is on around the world for the jobs of the future in the green transition, and this government isn't even at the starting blocks.
Labour's been accused by Grant Shapps of saying, you know, if Labour get into government, there'll be blackouts across the country. What do you say to that?
I think that's pretty desperate stuff and shows the position that this government is in. They're willing to just throw anything to try to stay in power. What we need to do with the government is hold them to account for their record on energy. They crashed the solar market. They banned onshore wind from 2015. They completely failed on gas storage, closing down and allowing to close down the Rough facility under the North Sea off the East Coast in 2017, only to find themselves having to reopen it 5 years later. They failed in terms of nuclear power as well. And all that left us exposed to the shock in the energy market that happened with Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine. As ever with this government, judge them on their actions, not their words.